Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This is going to be the 10-game NBA slate for today on Draftkings, and I gotta say, I'm looking forward to it. I think there's a lot of good spots in this slate, and there's also a lot of injury news to sift through. We already have some guys ruled out, like Kemba Walker and Kyrie Irving. We also have some guys listed as questionable, like D'Lo and Derrick Rose. So a lot of impactful players potentially going to miss this slate, which would open up a lot of mid-range and value plays as well. So I'm looking forward to it, and we will break it down. But before we continue, as always, if you guys could just leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm close to 500 followers. Not quite there yet, but I think I'm less than 20 followers away. So if we can hit that soon, that'd be pretty cool. It doesn't really do anything, but it'd make me feel a little bit better if I get close to 500, if I got 500. So if you want to help me out there, I'm at Pennell 16. And if you want to support me on Patreon, helps me out a little bit. And I do put in a lot of work for this stuff. Links in the description below for my Patreon. For NBA, you get access to my entire NBA spreadsheet, projections, cheat sheets, core plays, my Discord chat. You can bug me as much as you want in the Discord chat, or you can just come hang out. Good times in there. Links in the description below for my Patreon. And again, I do update this all the way up until lock. I try to give you guys the night before the best idea of what I think could potentially happen on this slate. But obviously some things come out of left field and it throws the whole entire slate off, so you gotta change a lot of your plays. But I will update that all the way up until lock. And also, like I've been, kind of hyping up NASCAR. This is the month for when NASCAR starts. If you want to sign up for NASCAR, check it out. It's pretty much my favorite sport. It's more of a niche sport, but that's why I really enjoy it, because not a lot of people know what's going on in NASCAR. I feel like I have a pretty good, grip of how to play NASCAR DFS. I think it's a really strategy-driven sport, and I think a lot of people just don't really have the right strategies for each track, and I'll break those down in all the content I do for NASCAR, but kind of the same ordeal, spreadsheets, actually do an article for NASCAR, and all that good stuff. So again, if you want to help me out on Patreon, links in the description below. And without sounding like a commercial for too much longer, let's get into this video. So up top, again, if you're new to the channel, this is not the entire DraftKings player pool. Although I know it looks like it, but it's my video, so I can make it as long as I want. But so what I do is I go on DraftKings and I basically go down the player pool, and if I see a guy that I have some mild interest in, or a lot of interest in, or a little bit of interest, I'll throw him on this video so we can talk about him, and we'll kind of just sift through these guys. Some of these guys I really, really like. Some of these guys are kind of fringe plays, but I do want to talk about them, and hopefully you guys want to hear the opinions on it. That's probably why you're here. So we'll start up top with Bradley Beal at 10,100, and he gets a great matchup versus Golden State. Now, I don't have any of the Vegas totals out yet from where I import them, but I checked a couple of other websites, and I believe there's a total out for Washington on one website. I think it was on, was it OddsShark or something like that? It's got a 235 total, which I'm assuming might be the highest on the slate. I really don't see another game that would surpass that. So I can only assume this is going to be the best game of the slate for fantasy purposes. Boston, Atlanta should look pretty solid. Detroit, Memphis is okay. But this game looks like it's going to be the best. We have two really bad defenses facing off. Now, Golden State isn't the fastest pace of play team in the NBA, but Washington, they are, I believe, 7th. I could just scroll over to the pace column, make that easier. Yeah, they're 7th in pace of play, while Golden State is 14th. But if we head over to the DVP chart, like I said, these guys are both awful defensively. Washington ranks 3rd, and Golden State is right below them at 4th. Sorry, I thought they're a little bit further down. So both bottom 4 in defense, and these Golden State, Washington. I'm not saying they play each other all the time, but when teams play Golden State, they tend to score a lot of points. When teams play Washington, they tend to score a lot of points. You put them together, probably gonna be a lot of points scored in this game, and 235 total would suggest that. Not as high as yesterday's 250 total for the Houston Rockets, but 235 is still pretty darn solid. And as you can see, Golden State, they rank 25th versus shooting guards, 28th versus small forwards. And Bradley Beal, he's been on a tear. I believe he's had at least 50 fantasy points in like the past 5 or 6 games, so he's on great form right now. Now, we were getting him in a 7K price range, which I was all about. Like, that's just a ridiculous price for Bradley Beal. As I said, this price is only going to come up soon. Did not think it'd be getting up into the 10K range, but the guy's been playing awesome. And on the season, he's averaging 35 minutes per game. Got him projected for about 35 right now. I think that's fair. I mean, he could play more, could play less, but I think 35 is a fair assessment. And not assessment, I think projection, I should say, I guess. And then 1.31 points per minute on the season, which is fantastic. If you give the guy 35 minutes, you're basically saying he's pretty much going to get you like anywhere from like 42 to 48 points with upside of 50 fantasy points, which is what he's been doing pretty much every single night. And he's got a 33% usage rate on the season. Like I said, elite matchup versus Golden State. I think he's an awesome play. Now, is he very expensive? Yes, so I'm not sure if I'll get there in cash games, but I would like to get there in cash games. I'm just not sure how viable it'll be. Now, depending on if some guys miss their games, like D'Lo and Derrick Rose, we'd have a lot of value open up, and you could easily fit in a guy like Bradley Beal and Andre Drummond. I'm not totally sure how we're going to attack this yet, but he's definitely in consideration for being my top spend up, because I believe I'm more than likely going to either pay up for Andre Drummond or Bradley Beal, or possibly both, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to get both. But I think one of those two is definitely going to be my lineup as of right now. Again, things could change, but I think there's enough value to get at least one of these guys in. And again, if I sounds like I'm talking weird, I'm still dealing with a cut on my tongue, and eating 2 pounds of, not really, but above 2 pounds of buffalo chicken dip today did not help that, because it's a little bit spicy. Ooh, it was a little tough eating it, but I had to because it was Super Bowl. You got to eat buffalo chicken dip. That's just the rules. But Andre Drummond, he comes in at 9,400. I like the price tag. Now, I will say he's not been having some great games recently. Hasn't really shown too much, big upside games. I know he had that pair of 60-point outings versus Cleveland, but other than that, it's been a little bit sporadic. But good matchup versus Memphis. I always like to attack Memphis, one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA in pretty much all aspects. As you can see, they rank, 4th, 5th, 6th worst defensively. They rank 22nd versus centers. I think he's just a pretty solid safe play at 9,400, and he's probably going to carry some ownership as well. Now, the thing here is that Derrick Rose is listed as questionable for this game. I don't know if you guys probably didn't even know, because he was on the 12 p.m. game? I don't remember exactly when it started, but he ended up leaving that game early due to an injury, did not return. I believe that was in the first half. So, Andre Drummond on the season, he's at 1.38 points per minute with a 25% usage rate. If you take D Rose off the court, and obviously Blake Griffin and those kind of guys, Andre Drummond is at, I have it written down, 28% usage rate, so that goes up 3%, and at 1.47 points per minute, which is actually a pretty substantial increase. So Andre Drummond, if D Rose is out, probably close to a lock, even if D Rose plays. Obviously, I still have a lot of interest in Andre Drummond, but certainly we get a boost if D Rose happens to miss. So certainly on my radar, do like Andre Drummond a lot. He's in contention for being in my main lineup, him or Bradley Beal as of right now. D'Angelo Russell, 8,900. So he's listed as questionable, and I gotta say his price is really, really creeping up there. I played him in the last game versus Cleveland. He was going to probably get 50-plus fantasy points, but he didn't really need to play at the end of the game because Golden State just absolutely ran Cleveland out of the building. It was actually funny. I don't know if I'll bring that up with Kevin Love. I'll save that little story for when we get to Kevin Love. So just have more to talk about with Kevin Love, because I already got a lot to talk about with D'Lo. But D'Lo, he's listed as questionable. I guess he picked up the injury late in the game, because I believe he was still in the game with 5 or 4 minutes left, so it couldn't have been anything too big. And I know they were killing Cleveland, so I feel like he'll play. I'm not totally sure yet, but if he does play, obviously, I love this game environment here, going up against Washington, one of the fastest-paced teams in the NBA. Bit of a pace-up spot here on the season, 1.27 points per minute. Usage rate monster for the Cavs for the Warriors, 32.2% usage rate. And I just kind of like playing the guy. I only got him for 32 minutes here, but the game's competitive. We've seen him play like 37 minutes, so if you give him 37 minutes, he'd grade out as a really, really good play at 8,900, but again, the minutes are never a sure thing. But I love the spot versus Washington. As you can see, they rank 26th versus point guards, 22nd versus shooting guards. I think he'd be a very fine play. Don't like the price tag, but I think that'll just lower his ownership, and especially if he has the questionable tag all day, that'll certainly lower his ownership, because guys you don't like to mess around with the guy that's questionable all day. So D'Lo, I think he's fine for GPPs. Not totally sure if I get there in cash games, but if you want to use Bradley Beal and run it back with D'Lo, I think that's an awesome way to go in GPPs for sure. Because I could totally see Bradley Beal being lower owned than Andre Drummond, and I could see D'Lo being lower owned just because of all I said already. So certainly a way to go in GPPs. You could get away with it in cash games, but they probably won't grade as the best point per dollar option plays. Nikola Vucevic, I want to say one thing that stood out is check out this pace column. We have 2 dark reds here, and I hate playing guys in slow pace games. Orlando is 29th in pace of play, and Charlotte is 30th. These teams are going to play slow. I don't even know what the total is yet in this game. I have to imagine, I don't know. It might be single-digit 200s. I'm not totally sure yet, but probably be low. But Vucevic, he gets a really, really good matchup here versus a Charlotte team that really struggles down low versus big men. If we head over to the DVP chart, as you can see, they rank 30th versus center. So they're the worst team in the NBA versus big men. Nikola Vucevic, he's pretty much a safe bet for about 40-plus points every single night. He's at 1.31 points per minute on the season, 26.2% usage rate. Gotta like Vucevic here. Not going out of my way to play him at near 9K in a really slow-paced game, but I still think he's fine. Devin Booker. So Ricky Rubio missed the last game. I feel like it was more towards rest purposes. I forget exactly what the injury was, but he was playing all week. I feel like they just gave him the Sunday off, so I'm assuming he's going to be back in. But if Ricky Rubio is out, Devin Booker 8,600 does become very interesting. I know he had a couple down games, but he had a very good game versus Milwaukee. Scored over 30 real-life points today or yesterday, whenever you're watching it. No, I guess it's 12 a.m., so yesterday. But he's going to play all the minutes he can handle on the season. He's got 1.18 points per minute. That goes over 1.2 points per minute with Ricky Rubio off the court. 29.7% usage rate. And with Ricky Rubio off the court, that goes over 30%. So obviously we'd get an upgrade if Rubio's out. If Rubio's in, you can still play him just because I like the spot versus Brooklyn. Both teams play pretty fast, and Brooklyn does struggle with guards. So you could certainly look Devin Booker's way, probably in GPPs. Wouldn't play him in cash games, as I always say, because I don't like playing Devin Booker in cash unless he's really, really cheap. And 8,600 is not really, really cheap. So he's more of a GPP play for me. De'Aaron Fox, I like him in this matchup versus Minnesota. I believe he had 46 versus them last time, if I remember correctly. It wasn't too long ago. But big pace of spot here. Minnesota is third in pace of play, and they play at the 24th pace of play. So big pace up spot, 21 spots to be exact. On the season, he's at 1.24 points per minute with a near 30% usage rate. And if we check out Minnesota's DVP chart, they rank 18th versus point guards, 27th versus shooting guards. So I think it's a pretty good spot here for De'Aaron Fox. You can certainly play him in all formats. Feels like a pretty safe play. I'd probably rather play Spencer Dinwiddie, though. 8K, Kyrie Irving's going to be out, and we pretty much played Spencer Dinwiddie every single night that Kyrie was out earlier in the season. Now, that was usually when he was in around the 7K range, but 8K is not too bad. And he's actually been playing pretty well with Kyrie being in. Anyway, he's had like at least 35 fantasy points for a while now, if I remember correctly. But yeah, with Kyrie off the court, well, I guess I want to talk about this in general first. He's at 1.19 points per minute with a 30% usage rate. If you take Kyrie off the court, then when he's at 33.1% usage rate with 1.24 points per minute, so you can certainly look his way. It's a good matchup versus Phoenix. It's going to be a pace-up spot here a little bit. Not a pace-up spot. It's going to be a fast-paced game. It's a little bit of a pace-down spot for Brooklyn, but it's nothing too dramatic. And Phoenix, they rank, 21st versus point guards and 23rd versus shooting guards. So you can certainly look his way in all formats. Definitely a safe, solid cash game play. I think he's probably going to get you over 40 fantasy points. He will shoot the ball as much as he wants as well. Let's see, Gordon Hayward. So this is only because Kemba Walker is listed as out. Now, he's my least favorite play of the Celtics, but I know I have him listed first, but we like to go in orderly fashion here in terms of DK salary, and he just happens to be the most expensive. But he's not a must-play by any means, and I don't like that he's this price tag, but I figured I should probably talk about him considering Kemba Walker is going to be out. So if you take Kemba Walker off the court, written down, I have a lot of players listed. Can't remember all this off the top of my head. So Gordon Hayward, he's at pretty much a point per minute and about a 20% usage rate with Kemba Walker off the court. He really doesn't see too much of a boost either way, or boost or anything with Kemba Walker off, so that's why I'm saying he's my least favorite. But he's got 40 plus point upside. Elite matchup versus Atlanta. That's pretty much the big thing here. We know how bad Atlanta is defensively. They are the worst defensive team in the NBA and for fantasy purposes. They rank 30th versus small forwards, 29th versus power forwards. The worst team in the league versus forwards. So you can certainly look Gordon Hayward's way, but I will say I like his teammates a little bit better, which we'll talk about very shortly, I believe. Right after DeAndre Ayton, we'll get into a couple of Celtics. So DeAndre Ayton, he's pretty much putting good game after good game up after a good game, and he gets a really good spot down low versus Brooklyn. As you can see, Brooklyn really struggles with point guards, and they really struggle with big men. And Brooklyn ranks 27th versus centers, so I really like the matchup for DeAndre Ayton. Just had a really good game versus Milwaukee. And on the season, he's been really good on a point per minute basis. 1.18 points per minute, 22% usage rate. I feel like he should be above an 8K salary player. So anytime you can get him below 8K, I think that's kind of a bargain. So DeAndre Ayton's certainly on my radar. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I like these guys quite a bit more than Gordon Hayward, just because their stats, numbers, whatever, grade out better with Kemba Walker off the court. So talking about Jaylen Brown first. I already talked about the matchup versus Atlanta. It's good. It's great. I mean, they suck versus guards. They suck versus forwards. They suck versus centers. You name it. It's a good matchup. And Celtics are a good team, too. It's in a pace-up spot as well. They played the 17th pace of play, and Atlanta is 5th. And like I said, terrible defensively. So on the season, when Kemba's off the court, Jaylen Brown's at 1.02 points per minute with a 20. I can't read my writing. I want to say that it looks like 27.6, but I'm pretty sure it's 21.6% usage rate. I think 27 is a little bit too high. No, actually, I think it is 27%. I think I was getting Gordon Hayward mixed up. So yeah, 27% usage rate. Yeah, that's right. for Jaylen Brown, so that's the second highest on the team. It's 27, I remember now. So certainly have interest in Jaylen Brown. The guy's got upside. On the season, he's at 1.04 points per minute. So actually, it says his numbers go down a little bit, like point per minute wise with Kemba off the court, but I mean, it can't hurt him. So gotta have interest in Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum, he is my favorite play from the Celtics. He gets the biggest bump with Kemba Walker off the court, and he just so happens to be the cheapest on this slate. So that just makes sense. So automatically gotta have the most interest in Jason Tatum. I know he's still working his way back from injury a little bit, but his numbers grade out really well, and he should be fine. So 7,500. Elite matchup versus Atlanta. Like I said, they rank dead last versus forwards. Can't ask for a better matchup here. Pace up spot. And the numbers with Kemba off the court. Tatum's at 32.6% usage rate. So obviously that's the best from all the guys I already said. And he's at 1.26 points per minute. Again, the best of all of the guys I said. So got to have the most interest in Jason Tatum. I think he's a fantastic option in all formats. Certainly look his way. D Rose, he's listed as questionable. So if he happens to miss this game, bumps to guys like Reggie Jackson, bumps to guys like Bruce Brown. Now, I don't know if he's going to play or not, so I'm just speculating right now. But let's say he does for just when we're talking about D Rose. It's a great spot versus Memphis, and the guy's been playing out of his mind. He's been a safe bet for 30-plus points every single night. Obviously not last game because he got hurt, but got have interest. I got him for over 30 minutes here, and on the season, he's at 1.22 points per minute with a 31% usage rate. He runs the show when he's on the court. Got to have interest, and I'm just a fan of the guy. It's fun watching D Rose play. I'm glad he's had a resurgence this season. And Memphis, a really good matchup here. It's a pace-up spot. They are, if I can find where D Rose is, they're 8th in pace of play, so you got to like that. And versus guards, they really struggle versus guards. They rank 17th versus point guards, 27th versus shooting guards. Elite matchup for D Rose. You can certainly look his way versus Memphis. Caught my tongue for a second. Kevin Love, he comes in at 7,100. So, told you guys I want to tell you a story about Kevin Love. I don't know if you guys were watching the Cavs game. I wasn't actually watching it. I was kind of just, on the NBA app. I like to watch the game logs. I don't know why. But I think it's more fun than actually watching the game. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But I just like watching the game logs. I like update automatically. But Kevin Love. So the entire Cavs offense, I believe there was 8 minutes and 32 seconds left in the third quarter. I forget how much they were down by, but it might have been double digits at that point, but they were playing absolutely no defense, especially Kevin Love. I mean, they weren't playing defense. They were only trying to play offense, and they weren't doing that well either. But the coach actually benched all the starters with 8 minutes and 32 seconds left in the third quarter. I was watching on the game log, and I was like, I had Kevin Love that night, so I was pretty excited because he was playing pretty well. I see that, and I'm like, what the heck are we doing? He just benched it's because it said, substituted by, if you've ever been on the NBA app watching the play-by-play, you know what I'm talking about. But he benched the entire starting unit, brought him back into the start of the fourth quarter, but they were down like 30 plus points. So yeah, I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. So I guess that could be a risk if they're not playing defense. But assuming he gets full run here, gotta have interest. I got him for over 30 minutes, and when the game's competitive, he'll play close to 35. That's a pretty good spot versus New York. It's not great if you head over to the DVP chart. And I just actually, bringing up New York, I just realized I forgot to put something on my sheet. So I'm going to pause this right after I talk about Kevin Love, and I'll update that really quick. You'll see in a second. But talking about New York, they actually rank 7th versus centers, but they're 25th versus power forwards, which is obviously what Kevin Love does. So pretty good spot for Kevin Love individually. I was, for some reason, thinking the 7th was for power forwards and 25th versus center, so I got that mixed up. So it's a much better spot than I thought for a second about Kevin Love. And Kevin Love, he's been pretty good on a point-per-minute basis this season. I think he should always be a little bit more expensive than 7,100. Price came up a little bit from the last game. I believe it was 6,900, but 7,100 is still a little bit too cheap for the guy. I mean, he's at 1.15 points per minute, 23% usage rate. Should have some interest in Kevin Love here. It's a fair price, and they rank bottom 5 versus power forwards. And let me pause this really quick and fix my sheet. Okay, all is fixed. You can't even see him because he's so far down on the sheet, but because he's pretty cheap. But I'm just going down the list here. Kristaps Porzingis, he comes in at 7K, and no Luka, obviously, so we got to have interest in Porzingis. He's pretty much, when Luka's been off, he's pretty much scored 50-plus fantasy points every single time. Now, I do not like the spot here versus Indiana, one of the better defensive teams in the NBA. If we head over to the DVP chart, they are all the way down here, second best defensively. They rank 5th versus power forwards, 17th versus center. So they do struggle a little bit versus big men, but do like Kristaps here. If you take Luka off the court, his numbers are elite. He's at 1.3 1.39 points per minute with a 29.6% usage rate, which is up from 1.17 points per minute. So he actually gets a very big bump and a 25% usage rate. So Kristaps certainly on my radar at 7K. I mean, he's priced pretty cheap, to be honest, too. I mean, he should probably be close to 8K when Luke is off, but don't mind that price whatsoever. John Morant, he really struggled as chalk versus New Orleans, so that always means he's going to go a little bit lower owned than he would normally do. Whenever someone fails as chalk, it's hard to go back to him the next night, especially on a big slate. So I could see him being very low owned. And he had a pretty good game last time versus Detroit. We know they struggle versus guards. I could pull up the DVP chart. I believe they rank okay versus point guards, but they do struggle with shooting guards. But just overall, they're not that great defensively versus guards. 12th versus point guards, 19th versus shooting guards. Either way, I've seen guards have pretty big games versus Detroit all season. And on the year, John Morant, he's over a point per minute, 1.14 points per minute, 26% usage rate. Should get over 30 minutes in this game. I think he's a fine option. Jared Allen, he balled out in the last game versus Washington. I said this guy is the ultimate GBP play. You never know what you're going to get. You're either going to get like 18 points or you're going to get near 50 points. It's just what he does, and that's the fun of rostering Jared Allen. You never know what you're going to get. But sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's usually at lower ownership on big slates, and that's going to be the case again. Now, the minutes are sporadic, but he's pretty good on a point-per-minute basis, and I like this game environment here. Phoenix and Brooklyn, two fast-paced teams. On the season, he's at 1.08 points per minute with a 14% usage rate. With Kyrie being off the court, that raises to 1.11 points per minute, so it gets a little bit of a boost there. And as you can see, Phoenix, they just struggle with big men. They rank 19th versus centers, so pretty much bottom 10 versus big men. Jared Allen, certainly on my radar. The guy can rack up the blocks, and if you get one of those 15 games out of Jared Allen, you're going to be sitting pretty at 6,700. Price has coming up a little bit, but it's only going to lower his ownership. Draymond Green, really only have interest if D'Lo's out, just because he's kind of an up-and-down player. And I know the last game he had like 16 assists, which was crazy, but he's fine. It's lead spot versus Washington. Third worst defensive team in the NBA. They rank 26 versus point guards, 26 versus small forwards, 24th versus power forwards, whatever you want to call Draymond Green. It's going to be a pretty good matchup here. And on the season, he's been about a point per minute guy. If you take D'Lo off the court, pretty much the same thing. So really doesn't change too much, but he's fine. I mean, point per minute guy, 6,500. Should get close to 30 minutes. He's fine. Alfred Payton, he gets an elite spot versus Cleveland, and Julius Randle is questionable for this game. So if he happens to miss, it's just going to be more of a load to shoulder for Alfred Payton, so that would certainly be a boost, so it couldn't hurt him. And this is an elite spot versus Cleveland. They're one of the worst teams defensively versus guards and just in general. 29th versus point guards, 30th versus shooting guards. Elite spot here for Alfred Payton, and he's coming off that one-game suspension, so he should have some fresher legs. And on the season, he's at 1.02 points per minute, and that'll obviously go up with Julius Randle being off the court if that happens to be the case. Even if Julius Randle plays, I have interest in Alfred Payton. He's going to do a little bit of everything in the stat sheet. He's a triple-double threat. Not like he's going to really get a triple-double, but he does a little bit of everything. Assists, rebounds, points, not a big scorer or anything, but I like that he does a little bit of everything because it makes him a little bit safer, so you can certainly look his way. And it's funny, right below him is the other guy that got suspended in that game, Jaren Jackson. He's coming off the suspension as well. 6,100 just seemed a little bit too cheap for the guy. He had a pretty good game last time he played Detroit. On the season, he's pretty good on a point-per-minute basis at 1.1 points per minute with a 24% usage rate. He doesn't play a lot of minutes. I got him predicted for about 30 right here. He's only averaging 28 minutes per game, but he's fine. It's a good matchup versus Detroit. Their struggle versus power forwards. If I can find them. Yeah, 23rd versus power forwards, 22nd versus centers. So I think Jaren Jackson's fine. More of a GPP play, but I do like that price tag at 6,100. Seems a little bit too cheap. Damian Lee, only have interest if D'Angelo Russell is out, because I'd probably have him closer to 30 minutes, or if not more. If D'Lo is out and the guy has upside, he's also got downside, but we've seen some pretty big upside gains from Damian Lee before. And if you take D'Lo off the court, he is at 0.87 points per minute, which is okay, and a 20% usage rate. On the season, he's at 0.85 points per minute, so it really doesn't change too much, but the minutes would be a little bit more safe. You can certainly look his way. It's an elite spot versus Washington. Love the game environment here. Certainly look Damian Lee's way. Battery on the laptop's at 23%, so hopefully we can get through this, but we're in the home stretch, so we'll be fine. Davis Bertans, 5,600, just staying in this game. I don't love it, and I know Mo Wagner looks like he should be back for this game, and Thomas Bryant's back, so the whole band's getting kind of back together, all these big men / forwards. And I know Rui's getting close to coming back. I don't even remember his status, though. It's getting a little bit messy down there. But Bertans, the guy can score in a hurry. He's been playing close to 30 minutes recently, anywhere from like 26 to 30 minutes. Got him for what, 26 and a half here. That might be a little bit on the low end, but if Mo Wagner returns, you probably have to see his minutes decline a little bit. But good spot here versus Golden State. Highest total on the slate. The guy can just gun threes all game, and if he's hot from deep, he's going to hit value. If he's not hot from deep, probably not going to hit value because he's not going to do too much else, but he's fine in GPPs. Wouldn't probably play him in cash games at 5,600. But I like the spot versus Golden State. On the season, he's at 0.93 points per minute. Not a really high usage rate player because he pretty much just catches the ball and chucks it. As you can see, 121 offensive rating, which is pretty darn solid. 118 defensive rating. But Bertans, he's fine in GPPs if he gets hot from deep. Alec Burks, he'd probably be one of my favorite plays in the entire slate if D'Lo happens to miss. I like Alec Burks. He's a pretty solid player. I've played him quite a few times this season, and he's played pretty well. I don't remember if D'Lo was. I played him in the one game. He scored over 60 points. I don't think D'Lo actually missed that game, and I forget the reason why I played him because I feel like I wouldn't have played him. No, I think Glenn Robinson was out. Yeah, I think Glenn Robinson was out, so I played Alec Burks, and I think so because I think I played D'Lo as well. But either way, Alec Burks, he's shown major upside this season. If D'Lo's off the court, he's pretty much going to be the guy. He's got a 25.9% usage rate with D'Lo off and 1.05 points per minute. Would play over 30 minutes. I mean, he'd draw the start. So you can certainly look his way. It's an elite spot versus Washington. Like I already said, they're bottom 5 pretty much versus all positions. Going to be a pace-up spot here. Good Vegas total. A lot to like about Alec Burks. He'd be one of my favorite plays on the slate. Bogdan, he comes in at 5,300. And the guy's pretty much up or down, so I don't know if he's safe for cash games. I mean, the price is safe for cash games, but he's more of a GPP kind of players because he can get hot or he's going to dud. But he's fine versus Minnesota. It's a pace-up spot. I think a pace-up spot's better suited for a guy like Bogdan who can take a lot of shots. As you can see, 24th in pace-up play, 3rd in pace-up play, so major pace-up spot there. 0.92 points per minute, 23% usage rate. Not going to play huge minutes, but probably about anywhere from like 26 to 29 minutes, something like that. So Bogdan's fine. Don't hate it. And if you look at the DVP chart, Minnesota does rank, if I can find them, 27th versus shooting guards, 22nd versus small forwards. So pretty good spot for Bogdan if you have 5,300 left. He's more of a lineup filler kind of guy. Karis LeVert, he's not going to play huge minutes here, but with Kyrie off the court, you got to have interest. I got him for about 25 minutes here, which I know is not a lot, but he's also only 4,700. And if you take Kyrie off the court, he's got a 30.1% usage rate. He's at 1.01 points per minute, basically saying he's probably going to get 25 plus fantasy points here. That's not too bad at 4,700. Again, good spot versus Phoenix. You can certainly look his way. And then Reggie Jackson. So only playing Reggie Jackson if Derrick Rose happens to miss. Because if D Rose is off the court, Reggie Jackson is at a 27.3% usage rate and 1.25 points per minute. That is pretty darn good. Now, I know he struggled in the last game versus Denver with D Rose missing a good portion of the game. But, the numbers would suggest he'd be a pretty good play. He'd probably get close to 30 minutes. So Reggie Jackson would be fine. On the season, he's at 1.07 points per minute with a 26.3% usage rate. So solid numbers all around. You can certainly look Reggie Jackson's way. Jeff Teague. So Trae Young is questionable because with the sprained ankle, and Cam Reddish, I believe, is still out. So that'd be a lot of minutes to open up for the guard position for Atlanta if Trae Young happens to miss. So you can certainly look Jeff Teague's way. He should play close to 30 minutes if so. And he's very cheap at 3,900, and the matchup is not that great versus Boston. As you can see, they rank second versus point guards, so I don't love the matchup here, but it's pretty much all about the minutes and Trae Young being off the court. If you take Trae off the court this season, it's not a huge sample size because Jeff Teague got traded here recently, but he's over a point per minute, 1.01 points per minute, low usage rate at 16%, but 3,900, getting close to 30 minutes, he's got to have interest. I mean, it'd be hard to not pay off your price tag at that price point. Bruce Brown, only if D Rose is out. He actually balled out today, or yesterday, I should say. I think he had 44 fantasy points, and it's a great spot versus Memphis. And if you take D Rose off the court, 0.85 points per minute, close to a 20% usage rate. You can certainly look his way. He's shown major upside games so far this season. Pace up spot, he's pretty cheap. Memphis does rank 27 versus shooting guards, 26 versus small forwards. So love the spot for Bruce Brown. You can certainly look his way for some salary relief. Bobby Portis, that's the guy I added when I said I had to pause, just because I forgot Julius Randle was listed as questionable. So I had to put Bobby Portis in here. He'd become a very solid not mid-range value play for sure. Should get close to 25 minutes. He's only 3,700, and we know the guy's pretty good on a point per minute basis. On the season, he's at 0.95 points per minute. Obviously, if you take Randle off the court, it's going to be closer to 1 point per minute. Got over a 20% usage rate as well, and Cleveland is one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. They are second worst, and they're ranked 20th versus power forwards and 21st versus centers. So Bobby Portis would definitely become a very solid play. We know the guy's got major upside. Brandon Goodwin, I believe he played about 25 minutes in the last game, or maybe more about that. But these minutes projections are assuming Trae Young plays. But if he's out, we're going to get over 20 minutes. He's only 3,200. Again, I don't like the matchup versus Boston, but this is all about price and minutes. And if you take him off the court, Trae Young, that is, Goodwin's at 0.87 points per minute with a 23.9% usage rate. So you could certainly look his way. And Okobo, he killed me today because I played him because Ricky Rubio was out, but he's basically min-price. So I thought it was worth a shot. Got 10 points. But if Ricky Rubio happens to miss again, he's min-price. I believe they actually dropped his, was he 3K in the last game? I don't remember. But either way, he's min-price in this one. And he played 27 minutes, if I remember correctly. So if you're going to get about 25 or so minutes at 3K versus Brooklyn, who's the 26 versus point guards, so their bottom 5 team versus your position, going to be pretty hard not to hit values. I think it's not out of the realm of possibility to get over 20 fantasy points at 3K. So you can certainly look at Kobo's way. Now on the season, he's at 0.84 points per minute, and if you take Ricky Rubio off the court, he's closer to a point per minute. I believe he's at 0.9 points per minute. So Goodwin would certainly be in play. Okobo would certainly be in play. Not the highest usage rate player in the world, but the price is almost too good to pass up if he happens to get the start. But that's pretty much going to be it for the entire player pool rundown. I will see you guys in a second talking about Overlay DFS. Alright guys, so if you've been watching my videos already, you already know what this is, but if you're new to the channel, this is overlaydfs.com. They've been kindly to reach out to me and just wanted to sponsor this. So it's actually a pretty fun website. I wouldn't recommend it to you guys if I didn't play it myself. I mean, this wouldn't make sense, and I do play it pretty much every single night that I can, and I really do enjoy it. It's a fun website, and it's as simple as it sounds. It's a pick'em based website. It's a pretty much more suited for the casual player, so you don't have to worry about salary cap restrictions. You don't have to worry about guys using optimizers. You don't have to worry about guys like Chipotle. No shark infested waters here. It's just a pretty simple website. So it's, like I said, it's a pick'em based website. So if you look over to the right above my head, like one of the matchups was Chris Middleton versus Eric Bledsoe. If you thought Middleton was going to outscore Bledsoe, you picked Middleton. This was from a few nights ago, so I happened to pick Middleton. He ended up scoring more points than Eric Bledsoe. You win that matchup. If you thought Bradley Beal was going to outscore Kemba Walker, you picked Bradley Beal. It's as simple as that. And if you happen to finish in the top 10% of the contest, so for example, this night I went 8-4. They happened to be in the top 10% of the contest. You win 9x your money. So this is one of their more popular contests. This is the $22 double deuce. If you happen to finish in the top 10% in the $22 double deuce, you win $180. It's as simple as that. And if you go 12-0 in your picks, you can win a jackpot of over $8,300 right into your bank account. And they do pay you out quick. It's a very legit website. I don't mean that they pay you out to your account balance quick. I'm talking about they get it into your bank account quick. So some nights I've withdrawn at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. It's been in my bank account. Like, it went into my account balance and I withdrew into my PayPal, right into my bank account by like 3 to 4 a.m. So they pay you out quick. I do like that quite a bit. And they got some good people over there, not scam artists or anything. It's a very fun website to play on. You can trust them. So check it out, guys, if you haven't already. Overlaydfs.com. There's no promo code or anything. I would put the link in the description below, but I don't want to get hit for a flag on YouTube and get my channel banned for a week. Not risking that, but I'm sure you guys can sound it out. Overlaydfs.com. Check it out. That's going to be it for this video, guys. Hope it was helpful. If it was, remember to leave a like. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. And if you want to support me on Patreon, which that would be pretty cool if you did, links in the description below for that. And NASCAR's coming up, so you can sign up for that. Very excited. Articles coming out for that. Got my data sheet model, whatever you want to call it. Got projections for that. Very excited. Our first video is probably going to be out, well, sometime this week because first race is on Sunday. So you can be on the lookout for that. My battery's about to die, so we got this video out just in time. So see you guys in the next video. Enjoy your Monday as much as possible. I know it's hard to enjoy Mondays, but yeah, see you then. See you in the next video.